Good afternoon. Thanks for coming in. So I'll be talking about the Lake Huron prey fish surveys that we did on behalf of the science staff at the Great Lakes Science Center. So to start off, I just want to give our sincere thanks and appreciation to our vessel crews, both the Sturgeon and the Articus, as well as the Spencer F. Baird crew that went out during these acoustic and trawl surveys, as well as to the science and database staff that did a lot of post-sampling work, aging, and data QA/QC. So why study prey fish? Well, they're the connection between your primary consumers, your mysis, your zooplankton, and those top predators, your salmon, your trout, your burbot. Also, for society reasons, they're, again, not only the food source for those top predators that are important economically, both for the recreational and the commercial fisheries, but also historically they've been harvested by us for direct consumption. So we conduct the prey surveys to measure their abundance or to get an index of their abundance, and as a way to look at how healthy the ecosystem is. So the USGS Great Lakes Science Center conducts annual prey surveys in the offshore waters of Lake Huron. We do this to look at the species composition, so what species are out there, how many are there, how many are there in relation to each other, as well as looking at the size and the age structure of some species of interest. We do this through two different surveys, an acoustic midwater trawl survey that happens first for Lake Huron. This occurs in September, followed by a bottom trawl survey, and that's looking at what's more directly on the bottom. And for 2025, this was the 50th year of our lake-wide bottom trawl surveys in Lake Huron. Again, the survey data that we produce really should be looked at as a population indice and not like a direct absolute measure. And all of the data that I'm going to be showing today is still preliminary and doesn't have the official USGS approval yet. Oh, perfect. Okay, so some general presentation notes as I go through the results. Our geographic focus, most of it's going to be on the main basin because this is where our trawl is done, is only in the main basin. The acoustics is done in both the main basin as well as Georgian Bay and the North Channel. Community metrics, for the most part, I'm going to be showing things as our estimated species biomass in kilograms per hectare. We'll be showing the abundance metrics of both yearling or YOY, as well as year and older individuals. There'll be some graphs showing year class strength. That's only going to be looking at our YOYs, and those are a relative measure to the other years of the survey. So everything is either going to be between 0 and 1, with 1 being the highest highest YOY catch that we have seen in that specific survey. And anytime we have any fish age, that was done with otoliths. So for the 2025 prey survey, the acoustic and midwater trawl surveys were done from the 4th to 25th of September. All three basins were sampled. There were 25 different acoustic transects, which are shown by the lines in this map. There were 41 midwater trawl toes done. Those are the triangles on the map. And they sampled depths between 21 and 158 meters. Due to the federal government shutdown, the bottom trawl survey, which typically starts in the beginning of October, was delayed a couple weeks. And we were only able to sample 4 of the 6 standard ports completely. For detour, we could only sample the 3 deepest sites before the conditions on the back deck were no longer safe, and so we had to stop the survey. And because due to the late start of the survey and our kind of predetermined Canada approval travel, we weren't able to get to Goderich before our approval expired. So for the results, so now we'll go into results. We'll go over kind of our community metrics, so looking at everything as a whole, and then I'll go through the different species of interest individually. So we'll start out with the acoustic survey. This is broken up into those 3 basins. For the main basin in 2025, the estimated abundance increased, and the largest biomass that we saw was bloater in that dark blue color. For the North Channel and the Georgian Bay, those biomass estimates decreased a little bit compared to 2024. Both of them had large numbers of rainbow smelt with that light green color. And in the North Channel, about half of the biomass was made up by Cisco in that teal color. For the bottom trawl, we saw an overall increase in the estimated density compared to 2024. But in general, the biomass is relatively consistent with kind of what we've been seeing the past 10 years. Half of the catch was made up of bloater, followed by rainbow smelt, brown goby, and alewife. Other species, and I should note, in comparison to some of the other prey fish talks, that this is only including our prey fish species. So we did capture other species that aren't on here. We caught some adult sea lamprey this year. We caught some really big burbot. We caught a whole lot of lake trout in various stages and sizes, and that's not included in this graph. But the species over there, the other did include deep water sculpin, trout perch, a whole lot of sticklebacks, shiners, some yellow perch. Looking at those state of the lake indicator metrics, so for Lake Huron, we have 2 of them that are relevant to us. We have a native species of importance, which is just the % of the biomass that's made up by native species, and a species diversity, which is Shannon's diversity index. So it's a way to combine both the number of species that you captured, as well as how many of each species. So in the bottom trawl, we caught 12 different prey species, and in the acoustic survey, we caught 9 different prey species. And what both of them either came out for the 2 different years. Everything came out as either fair or good, with an overall status of fair. And something to note is that when we look at what the trends from 2016 to 2025, for all of these metrics, it's unchanging. Now for species-specific information, we'll start with alewife. After the early 2000s, when alewife crashed, we're still not really seeing any yearling and older alewives, and for us in the bottom trawl, we did not capture any alewife over age 0. When we look down here at our year class strength index for both the bottom trawl and the acoustics, we do those separately, but you can see down at the 2025, this last one, we're indicating, a very low, poor year class. When we look at that age distribution, all of the fish that we captured were less than 120 millimeters. And these fish were just recently finished being aged using their otoliths only a couple weeks ago. And all of them were age 0. Yearling and older alewife have been mostly absent in our trawls since 2015. One notable exception is actually last year, when we had the highest catch of 9 alewife that were age 1 and older. However, all of those alewife were actually captured at Goderich, and we were not able to sample that port this year. So we do think there are adults in Lake Huron, but they're at very low levels and below really the detection of our surveys. For bloaters, in 2025, you can see overall, if you look, sort of in between what the acoustic survey and the bottom trawl survey, we're about where we've been for the past few years. One of them went up a little bit, one of them went down a little bit. But what's really interesting, and I think is cool, is that our year class strength index for both years is showing a really high year class strength for bloaters. When we look at their spatial distribution, which is done using the acoustic survey, we can see that the long-term distribution, which is shown by the heat map part of this map, with those lighter colors meaning a lower overall density or mean density that we have seen in the past 20 years, and those warm colors and that green color being where the higher densities are. We can see that in Lake Huron, we kind of have a northern stock and a southern stock, or at least that's where they've been detected previously. And in 2025, the largest densities were found up in the north. When we go to their age and size distribution, we don't have their ages yet. Again, shutdown took out 6 weeks of lab work that could have been done, and we're also personnel losses that were not able to be replaced. So we're still working on this, and our final report will have all the ages in it. But you can see right here, these are all likely age 0, again, corresponding to those high catches that we saw. But this other part here is likely distributed among multiple year classes, and that gap is not unexpected given that in 2024 we had very low catches of both age 1 and age 0. So that's likely explaining that bimodal distribution that we saw. For rainbow smelt, again, we had very low catches of adults, of yearlings and older. However, just like with bloater, both gears are showing a very high year class strength estimated for 2025. When we look at the spatial distribution, we see that the highest densities were caught in locations where historically we have seen a lot of them, mostly in the North Channel and Georgian Bay, but they had quite a few smelt down in the southern portion of the lake. And most of the individuals were less than 100 millimeters. Another species of conservation concern, the Cisco. There's been reintroduction efforts that Scott Konenbauer will gladly give you a nice update for in a couple presentations. But we wanted to show, where we're finding them, if we're finding them, and most of them are in the North Channel and Georgian Bay. And we captured 11 fish this year, and they were all adults. And in general, we're finding that abundance has increased in the North Channel since 2015, and the 2025 abundance levels were pretty similar to what they've been since then. For our sculpin species in the bottom trawl, we saw sculpin species kind of go down in the early 2000s and come up a little bit starting in around 2021. But now the sculpin species that we catch in the bottom trawl is mostly deep water sculpin. For round goby, kind of have the opposite story. They were first captured in 1997, and really since the early 2000s, they've been increasing in our bottom trawl catches. 2025 was the second highest time series biomass estimate that we have, only second to 2024, which was the highest. We should note that the round goby, we're finding the largest numbers kind of at our more southern ports, Alpena South. And the highest catches that we captured in 2023 and 2024 were at Goderich. Again, it's the port that we were not able to sample this year. And also note that the bottom trawl is not really designed to sample where gobies should be, which is near shore rocky areas. So that also could be, is going to bring variability to what we're finding. So in summary, we have positive trends in species of conservation importance and importance for our native species. One, our bloater have remained relatively stable, and we have high young of year numbers this year. And Cisco catches have remained higher in the North Channel, and we're still finding them, and that's been since 2015. We still have high goby numbers that we're finding, so that could be a concern coupled with the low deep water and slimy sculpin numbers. But we do have a consistent abundance for those main prey species that we have out in Lake Huron, your bloater, rainbow smelt, and alewife, although alewife is very low. But that at least is giving us indication that the prey populations are likely matched to the primary production and the predator demands, because we've seen stable numbers really for the past few years. And that's all I have. So I have plenty of time for questions.